Hi, my name is Charles Busey, and this is my data overview for Dawson County Middle School. The intended use of this would be by use of staff in helping educate the staff members within the school on which areas are strengths and which are weaknesses on end of grade assessments, specifically in the area of 8th grade language arts. So the overall purpose of this data overview, one of the things that I really want to do is focus in on reviewing the demographic changes over the past 3 years at Dawson County Middle School. Also, I want to look at what are some of the end of grade assessment data's results like in the area of English language arts over the past 3 years, and how have those maybe changed a little bit. So some things to consider going into this data overview. One thing is, how does district quarterly assessment data results compare to the end of grade assessment scores? And I'll talk about both of these items in a little more detail in just a second. And then also focus in on how do students with disabilities compare to general education students on the end of grade assessments. So looking at the overall student enrollment at Dawson County Middle School between 2013 and 2016, as you can see in the chart, we've grown every year. Beginning in the 2013-2014 school year, we started with 423 students. That number grew to 447 in 2014 in 2015, and then in 2015-2016 school year we had 456 students. So you see a little bit bigger jump between years 1 and 2, and then a jump of about 9 students from years 2 to 3. Looking at the district overall enrollment, as you can see, there's been a bigger jump within district enrollment than within Dawson County Middle School specifically. In the 2013-2014 school year, the Dawson County school system had just over 3,300 students. That number grew to a little over 3,500 in 2014-2015, and then we see a big jump to year 3 in the 2015-2016 school year with just over 3,800 students. So from years 1 to 3 that we're looking at here, we see a jump of about a 13% gain in overall student enrollment. So looking at the enrollment between genders between 2013 and 2016, specifically for Dawson County Middle School, we see fairly proportionate numbers from female to male students. In that first year, 2013-2014, we have a little more of a female population within the school. That shifts slightly in 2014-2015, where we have a few more male students. And then things even out a little bit more, but we do still have more male students in the 2015-2016 school year. Looking at the overall enrollment by ethnicity, and this is grades 6 through 8 within Dawson County Middle School. As you can see, Dawson County Middle School is not a very diverse school. As of the 2015-2016 school year, 93% of the students identified themselves as white, 2% identified themselves as black. We had 3% of multiracial ethnicity, and then 2% identified themselves as Hispanic. So overall, we've got less than a 10% minority at Dawson County Middle School. Looking at the overall number of students 6 through 8 in Dawson County Middle School, by students with disabilities. So this is the overall number, and as you can see, this has grown each year from 2013 to 2016. In the 2013-2014 school year, we had 58 students within the school who were on an IEP. In 2014-2015, that grew to 61 students, and then in 2015 to 2016, that number grew to 66. So we see an upward trend in the number of students with disabilities that are being served within the school, but the overall percentage stays relatively the same when you consider the fact that there are more overall students within the school each year. So one of the first things that I want to look at is CRCT data, and I want to explain a little bit about what CRCT is. The CRCT test was retired in Georgia at the end of the 2013-2014 school year, and it's used to measure student skills in language arts, math, science, and social studies. This consists of criterion reference questions as well as norm reference questions as well, but this is no longer in use at this time. So looking at the CRCT data for 2013-2014, and this is focusing in on 8th grade language arts, we see that students overall were very successful in taking this test. Within Dawson County Middle School, 97% of the students that took the CRCT for English language arts in 8th grade met expectations, and only 3% did not. Within the district, we have 95% meeting expectations and 5% not. And then within the state, 94% met expectations and 6% did not. So as you can see, Dawson County Middle School is a little above both the district and the state average, which is a very good thing. So after the CRCT was retired in the 2013-2014 school year, the Georgia Milestones assessment was put in place to take the place of the CRCT. So the first year that we have results on that are 2014-2015 school year. This test replaced the CRCT in Georgia. And again, just like the CRCT, it measures student learning in language arts, math, science, and social studies. And it also consists of criterion reference questions and some norm reference questions as well. So breaking down the Georgia Milestones and how students score within this, the first proficiency level that we see is beginning learners, and these are students that do not demonstrate proficiency in the area. Beginning learners are the next category. They demonstrate some or partial proficiency within the domain. The proficient learners, these are students that demonstrate proficiency in knowledge and skills for the current grade level. And then distinguished learners, these are students that demonstrate advanced proficiency, which would be above grade level. So looking at the Dawson County Middle School 8th grade language arts milestone scores in 2014 and 2015. As you can see in this, students typically did not score quite as well in the school district or the state on the Georgia Milestones as they had previously done on the CRCT. And a big part of this is because the Georgia Milestones is a little bit more rigorous test. So we see that 22% of the students within DCMS scored in that beginning category, which means they did not meet proficiency. 34% were in the developing category, 37% were in the proficient, and 8% were in that distinguished or above grade level category. As you can see, this is a little bit better for Dawson County Middle School than it is for either the state or the district results. As you can see within the district, 25% of students that took this test in language arts did not meet expectations. They scored in that beginning category. And then for the state overall in 2014-2015, 29% scored in that beginning category. So as we can see, in the next year that Georgia Milestones was given in language arts for 8th grade, which is the 2015-2016 school year, we do see a little bit of improvement, although it's a very, very slight. So within Dawson County Middle School, 21% scored in that beginning category, which is an increase of about 1% from what it was the previous year, or it dropped 1% from the previous year. So previously, 22% scored in that category, only 21% scored in that category the following year. 29% were in the developing category, 42% in the proficient, and 8% in the distinguished. And as you can see, this is still above the state and district levels. In the district, we have 23% scoring in that first beginning category and 28% overall in the state. So we do see some improvements both on the school, district, and state levels, although very slight from year 1 to 2 of the Georgia Milestone being given. One thing that I really wanted to focus in on because I found it fascinating was the results of the students with disabilities on the milestones in language arts. So as you can see, looking at this in the 2014-2015 school year, we see that the students with disabilities that took this test really, for the most part, scored very, very poorly in the school district and the state levels. So in that first year, we see 22% of the overall school scoring within the beginning category. But when we just focus in on students with disabilities, 65% score in that beginning category. So that's one thing to really keep in mind that could possibly skew some of these scores, is when we pull out the students with disabilities, that does affect the overall school scores. One reason for this, and I studied a little bit, one reason for this might be because the CRCT offered the CRCT-M, which was a modified version for students with disabilities, but at this time the Georgia Milestones does not do that. And then looking over at the 2015-2016 results for students with disabilities, we actually see within Dawson County Middle School, the overall percentage of students scoring in that level 1, that beginning category, it actually goes up. So that's a negative trend that we see with students with disabilities that are taking the test, while we see the district and the state levels actually fall. So Dawson County Middle School, when we look just at students with disabilities in the 2015-2016 school year, Dawson County Middle School students actually perform a little below the overall district average, and they're right on level with the overall state average. All right, so I mentioned earlier about the DQA data versus Georgia Milestones data. So the Georgia Milestones data, of course, is the state test, but we also at Dawson County Middle School have what's called District Quarterly Assessment, and this is supposed to kind of monitor student progress and kind of project where those students might perform on the Georgia Milestones test. So I looked at that data for both the 2014-2015 and the 2015-2016 school years. As we see overall within the school on DQA in 2014-2015, 89% of students at Dawson County Middle School met expectations on the DQA, and 78% met expectations on the Georgia Milestones. In 2015-2016, we see 94% meeting expectations on the DQA data, and then 79% meeting expectations on the Georgia Milestones data. So we see an upward trend in both of these, but we do see a gap developing between DQA data and Milestones data. So that might be something to consider in looking at the DQA, because that might be something where we might have a little bit of a gap, and that DQA might need to be adjusted somewhat to better reflect how students will perform on the Georgia Milestones. So some enrollment trends to look at. Overall, Dawson County Middle School, or the Dawson County School District, has experienced a 13% growth between 2012-2016. So that's a very large growth in a very short period of time. And then Dawson County Middle School hasn't been quite as significant, but there has been a 7% growth between those years. So some data strengths. Dawson County Middle School has experienced an increase in students in the proficient range in language arts in the 2 years of the assessment's existence. And that would be looking at the Georgia Milestones results. And then Dawson County Middle School students have consistently scored above the district and state averages in the area of 8th grade language arts. So those are both positive trends that we see. However, we do see some areas of weakness, and those would be students meeting expectations on the milestone assessment is much lower than the previous CRCT results. Again, this is because this is somewhat of a more rigorous test, and we see this trend both in the district and the state averages as well. And then focusing in on those students with disabilities, those students are scoring much lower on the Georgia Milestones assessment than regular ed students, and we see a decrease in their abilities on that. So in that first year, we had 65% scoring in that level 1 category. Of course, we want to see that number drop. However, it increases the following year to 67%. And then some discussion questions to look at. How has the intense increase in student enrollment within the district impacted student performance? of end of grade assessments? Why is there a downward trend in students with disability performance on the end of grade assessments? And then how can the 8th grade ELA teachers at DCMS use DQA data throughout the year to provide support for students who need it? And how can they adjust that DQA assessment to better reflect how students are going to do on the Georgia milestones?